Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Crimson with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing chapter 33. Alex cursed as he called up the station's map for the fourth time when the door that was supposed to lead to the docks opened up to a residential section. He'd gotten lost again. Maybe he had a problem with directions, or more likely, he needed to slow down and pay attention to where he was going instead of rushing forward. This was starting to feel like one of those slower is faster situations. He raced through the back of the dock and memorized it. He traced the route back to the docks, memorized it, and walked there instead of running. If he hadn't taken the time to look at the code under the interface, he'd think someone was messing with him, but the code was in order. So this was his fault. The conversation had made him realize a few things. That he needed to pay more attention to his surroundings, the people and how he got places. That he needed to be more guarded. Olian had picked him up as a target because he'd shown how he felt, but more importantly, he wasn't the plot. It didn't matter how good Tristan was. Eventually he would forget Jack. And it wasn't like he even had a reason to try to remember him. As far as the alien was concerned, he never needed Jack again. Alex was the one who wanted him back. Finally, he muttered as he reached the docks. Now he ran. Couldn't get lost here. All he had to do was follow the docks until he reached the ship. 10 minutes later, he had to check the docking list because he should have reached the ship by then. He cursed. The ship was docked on the other side of the station. Finally made it to the ship, having to cut through some restricted area to make it as he finally made it to the ship, having had to cut through some restricted areas to make it as a wow. Finally made it to the ship, having had to cut through some restricted area to make it as straight a line as he could. I guess that's technically correct. But wow, is this clunky. Stopped next to the captain, who was supervising the loading and unloading of crates. Captain? Alex started, and had to wait until he caught his breath. I'm done being your passenger. The captain looked around them. Are you certain this isn't the best place to leave the... I want to be part of the crew. Alex cut him off. And then studied Alex for a moment. Are you sure? Yes, until we reach Somalia. I want to be a member of your crew, but... Alex stopped as the race stopped off. Why am I not surprised that you want to put a condition on it? It seems to me that you don't quite understand what it means to be part of my crew. I'll make it worth... The captain raised his hand and Alex stopped. Mr. William, he called, and Will joined them. Mr. Crimson is considering joining the crew. Have him help with the freight transfer. Looked at Alex again. If you still want to be part of my crew once you're done, come find me and we can discuss those conditions you want to put on your employment. Alex stared at Alex, then sighed and motioned for him to follow. When they were in the ship, Will looked over his shoulder, shook his head, walked. Even as he'd become to the way Will spoke, it took a moment to figure out what he meant. I can walk away from this once I'm on Somalia. No. Will stopped and turned to face Alex. This, the ship stays stuck. He tapped Alex's chest. Alex wanted to rebuff the statement, but Will was still trying to work out how to say what he felt he needed, so Alex waited. The young man taps Alex's head. That changes. Get dark. Get this me, not you. You're bright. True steal that. You guy, he gonna want you? Alex understood Will's worry then. He found he couldn't explain without telling him a truer version of the reason than he'd given him to this point. Will, Jack isn't waiting for me on Somalia. He's a prisoner of someone pretty bad. You say that being part of the crew is going to change me, but I think the only way I can save him is if I change. I need to be tougher. I don't think Alex, the corporate coercionist, can do it, but I think that Crimson has a chance. Your guy? I'll have to live with the consequences, but I think you'll understand. Will nodded, as if that made sense to him. I help. Got friends. Alex smiled and placed a hand on Will's shoulder. I have to do this by myself. He wasn't exposing anyone else to Tristan. Not only would he have to explain what Jack was in relation to the alien, but he was certain the others wouldn't survive the encounter. Will searched Alex's face for a moment, then turned and grabbed 2 gravity sleds. He led Alex to crates, which they loaded, and he followed Will to a warehouse where the crates were added to more. As far as Alex could tell, they were the result of jobs they pulled on the way here. He was able to keep his curiosity under control for 3 trips. It's part of the line of other crew member moving crate. Why are we going back to the other station to sell this? Didn't Leah say that guy there gave really good prices? Will gave him an exasperated look. I'll answer that, the woman behind him said, and Will gave her a grateful smile. She pushed her cart next to Alex and matched the speed. There's a few reasons. The big one is that if we always go back to the same fence, the law's going to notice, especially with the size of the holes you've made possible. I'm Allison, by the way. Crimson. Alex offered his hand. She took it. Oh, I know who you are. Everyone on the ship does. The other reason is that the captain likes to do a circuit. It's pretty big, and it isn't identical from one time to the next. I've been with him for 15 years, subjective, and when we unloaded for Arlington, that was only my second stop there. He does it so the law can't trace our route. After this, we'll be stopping at Somalia. Alex nodded, remembering the captain showing him the stop up to Somalia. Then why couldn't you tell me when you'd get there? Because that's going to depend on the number of jobs you can line up on the way. More jobs take on the more job, the longer it takes. Alex nodded. But people knew you were heading to Somalia. Wouldn't the law know that too? Couldn't they find you that way? Allison grins. We were a merchant ship where we picked you up. Merchants show where they're going. You haven't noticed. Our board doesn't say anything here. What board? She looked at him, surprised. It's where the ships put up their itinerary. She took out her data pad, and after a few taps, showed it to him. Multiple ships were listed, many but not all showing destinations. Gully's yacht was there without a destination. And you do this on all stations? Of course. Isn't that how you found us? Alex shook his head. I asked around. Someone pointed me to you. He looked at the passenger cruiser's destination, but it hadn't even occurred to him to see if merchants advertised it. Thought it was risky. The law had to know and be able to track them this way. But they'd been doing this for years without getting caught, so they had to know what they were doing. It took 6 hours to empty the hold and bring in supplies. By the time they were done, Alex was sweating, tired, and wondering how many jobs it had taken to get that much cargo. He'd helped on 6, maybe 7 before the accident, but he didn't know how many others had happened while he was in self-imposed lockdown. How many more jobs had the captain planned between here and Somalia? How long would they take? I see you're still here, the captain said. Yes, sir. I haven't changed my mind. Very well. Go clean up. Meet me here in an hour, and we can discuss your terms. Alex nodded and headed for his quarter. There, he took off his clothes and looked them over. Will had taken him to buy a few extra sets on the last station. They matched his old, normal clothes, the kind of things he'd worn when he was a corporate coercionist. Felt he needed to set the rest of his trip apart from his previous life. He was a pirate now, and he wanted to not so much look the part. Everyone on the ship dressed how they pleased, but fabricate a look that would help it make the division something you could step out of when you had Jack back and things were normal again. He had nothing that let him do that. He'd have to go shopping after his conversation with the captain. The captain was talking with official-looking people when Alex found him, so he stood back to what he thought of as at attention. When the captain was done, he turned to Alex and slipped forth into a smile. You don't run a military ship, Mr. Crimson. You don't need to stand stiff like that. Sorry, sir, I don't really know what's expected of me as a crew member. Pull your weight, follow my orders, or those of whoever you're working under at the time. Don't cause trouble you can't get yourself out of. Seems pretty simple. The captain nodded. I run a relaxed ship. Now follow me. I need a drink. Alex followed the man a few bays down to an unmarked door that opened into a bar. The lights here were low, and only a few of the tables were occupied. "Hey, Marin!" someone called. "Come on over and have a drink with us." It took a moment for Alex to find the man who'd spoken. He was thin, with scars on his face. The captain had located him too, and looked annoyed. "Follow me, but don't say anything." 3 others were seated at the table with the man who had called the captain. 2 women, one dark-skinned and the other very pale, and a squat man. "Rogan," the captain said, his voice neutral. "Didn't know you were here." The man smiled. "Got here a few days ago. Come on, sit. Let me get you a drink. Wine work? You still like red?" "That's fine." Pulled a chair and sat as Rogan left for the counter. Captain nodded to the dark-skinned woman. "Hello, Felicia. How have you been doing?" "Don't act like you care, Maron." She replied. "Alex, maybe published bush will have typos in it." Alex took the time to look her over. He needed to get in the habit of doing that. She was wearing a tight bodysuit in beige with gold trim. She was, as his grandmother would say, well stacked. And she had pale brown curls. She looked tense. "Just being polite, Felicia. Why don't you introduce me to the others so we don't feel like we have to converse?" "That's Volantia." She indicated the pale-skinned woman. She was wearing a white business suit. Her hair was black and eyes violet. She nodded to the captain. "That's Druin," and wore a loose, unbuttoned shirt. His blond hair was disheveled, and he was slouched in his chair instead of sitting straight, like the others. The man nodded to the captain and looked Alex over, a speculative smile on his lips. Alex couldn't shake the feeling the man was undressing him mentally. "Who's the fellow with you?" Druin asked. "The newest member of my crew," the captain answered. Druin's smile widened. "And what is it that you do for your captain?" he asked Alex. Alex wasn't sure if he should answer, so he glanced at his captain and gave a small nod. Lips tight. "I clean floors, sir," he answered. Alex answered, figuring that was a safe answer. "And you shine them too? Polish them?" Alex hesitated. "Yes, sir." "Aaron, can I borrow him? I too have floors that need polishing." "No," his captain answered bluntly. "That's a pity." Aaron looks at Alex. "You should jump ship. I have far better assets to offer you. Why, even my—" "There you go," Rogan said, putting a glass before Alex's captain. He stared at the glass while the others snickered. It was filled with grapes. "I see you've run into some of my crew." "Yeah." Rogan could barely contain his laughter. "Yeah, great stories, as usual." "I am certain." The captain's voice was cold, and Alex thought he was doing his best to control his anger. "So, what else have you been up to, Maron?" "It's been a while since we've been at the same station." "It's only been 3 years for me," the captain answered. "Really? It's got to be going on 10 for me." The captain smiled. "I can tell. You shouldn't stand still for so long. Someone's going to catch up to you at some point." "I'm not worried. I can take them on, whoever they are." The captain smiled. "I have no doubt you aren't worried," he said. "While I appreciate the drink, I have business to discuss with my new crew member." He nodded to the dark-skinned woman. "I know you won't believe this, but it's good to see you again, Felicia." "It was good to make your acquaintance," he told the other two. He led Alex to a table on the other side of the bar, where he sat against the wall, eyes fixed on the other. Alex sat facing him when the waiter came to take the orders. "I don't know what the procedure is," Alex said. "Am I allowed to ask a question?" The captain smiled. "If we're in a bar, neither of us are on duty, so yes, you can ask." "Who are they?" "Other captains. This is a captain's bar. We come here to get away from the crew, to talk business among each other, or if we want to conduct private discussion without the rest of the crew finding out. That Rogan guy, you don't like him." "You can think of him as a rival. Tried to steal my cargo more than once." "So letting you do a job, then attacking you?" The captain nodded. He had told me about the grapes, but why did he do that? Serve you a glass of them. He's rubbing my nose in a failed job. He hoped I'd get angry and start something. He's looking for an excuse to kill me. Can he just pull a gun and shoot you? Not without provocation. Not if he wants to keep working with the others. We have a code, rather loose, but the primary tenet is that we need to trust each other. If Rogan just shoots me, no one's going to be able to trust him. Some might even let the law know where they can find him. But he tried to steal your cargo. That's expected. We're pirates, after all. But I made him pay. My ship's better armed, I have more experience. I'm sure he'd love to blow me out of the void if he thought I could manage it. We're not all as trustworthy as others. Alex nodded. The dark-skinned woman? Felicia. She used to be my first mate and my wife. Ouch. The captain shrugged. This isn't an easy life. There's a lot of stress. She found she preferred giving orders over relaying them, so she tried to take over my ship. She hates that I won. The drinks arrived, and the captain down is and ordered another one. Alex settled for a sip. Now, the captain said, all those questions sound to me like you're procrastinating laying down your ultimatum. Alex took his glass. It isn't an ultimatum. Your words were, I'll be part of the crew, but. Sounds like an ultimatum to me. Alex looked at his captain. I'm not. And then glared at him. Alex said, I'm not going to withhold anything, no matter what you decide. I can't. I need you to take me to Somalia, and I need to get there as soon as possible. But that's the thing. I need to be there soon. Alex looked into his glass, drank it all, and then told his captain everything. How he met Jack, fell in love with him, how Jack turned out to be Tristan, how Alex was used to gain access to Luminex, how Alex was used to gain access to Luminex, then abandoned, how the company treated him, held him prisoner, how he tried to get back to his normal life, but couldn't, how he stole the company's property and fled, determined to find Tristan and bring him back. And I spoke to a conman who uses the same trick, and from what he tells me, the longer I wait, the lower or the odds are that Tristan will be able to even recall Jack. The captain sipped his drink. The server bringing it was the only time Alex paused. You realize your plan sounds insane, right? Alex shrugged. It's all I have. You have us. You could make a good life on my ship. Your skill could get you up in rank. By the look of you, you've taken to the exercise fairly well. I'm sure you can become a good fighter. Alex shook his head. I have to do this. I have to at least find out if there's anything of Jack left. But for that, I need to get to Somalia soon. I'm afraid I can't do much about that. I can't shorten the distance between here and Somalia. And before you bring that up, no, I can't push the engines. That's something that only works in the vids. The maximum speed my ship can reach is set. All right? But each time we do a job, that costs us, right? A week, two. I can't say I've paid attention. Around that, yes. Okay. How many jobs between here and Somalia? Considered for a moment that he. The captain considered for a moment, tapping his fingers on the keys. Probably a dozen. Will depend on what I hear on the network. So that's an extra 3 to 6 months to the trip. Do you really need that many jobs? With my help, I mean, when I take over a ship, it doesn't matter how large the security force is. Could go after a larger ship, better cargo. That's already my plan. I have feelers out for ships with high volume and high value cargo. 12 of those, and we'll be set for a while. Are you saying you'll stop going after ships once we reach Somalia? Leah said that no one she knows has ever been able to put this life behind them. Alex gave the captain a moment to contradict him. When he didn't, he continued. If you're not stopping, isn't going after 12 ships just greed? What's your point? On that first job, Leah said that with my help, we got 2 or even 3 times the cargo than if I hadn't helped. So let's say that with me, each job is worth twice as much. We could do 6 jobs and have the equivalent of 12. The captain smiled, starting to think a lot of yourself, aren't you? Anders, of all people, said I should take the glory I'm due. I don't think I'm irreplaceable, but I do think I make a difference in how the jobs go. Even you said as much. So you want me to do 6 jobs instead of 12, and I expect you want to keep the downtime to a minimum 2. Alex almost agreed, but shut his mouth to think it over. I don't think I know enough to say how short that should be. The captain smiled. All right, here's what I'm willing to offer you. I will seriously consider doing a fewer job, but only on the condition that you fix this thing between you and Anders. I'm not sure I understand, sir. There's nothing between me and Anders. Bullshit. I'm not dumb. I know what happens on my ship. You and him have a problem. I want it resolved. I don't have a problem with him. Anders is the one with the problem. I don't care. If I do this, I need to be sure you'll be alive to do your part. Silenced Alex with a hand. You're not a passenger anymore. I can't offer you my protection. That would be playing favorites. As much as people call Anders Group my favorites, they earned their position. They didn't kiss my ass to get it. Captain leaned back. The thing is that this issue between the two of you has affected the whole ship. You two are dividing the ship between yourselves. Sir, I didn't do anything to make that happen. You think I care? There have been fights because someone badmouthed you. Not everyone likes Anders. He's hard and uncompromising. He's hard and uncompromising. It's good. He's been with me for a long time now, and he's one of the few people I can trust to follow my orders without questions. Before you showed up, he was able to keep everyone in line. Yes, I know you didn't ask for any of that. Tough. This life's hard, and I'll remind you that you decided to join the crew. Alex looked away. Is this a mistake? Before you think of quitting, you can't. Plenty of people heard you joining, and if it hasn't spread to the whole ship by now, it won't be long. You're giving all the people who don't like Anders someone to rally behind because of everyone on the ship. You're the one who's been standing up to him. Will's kicked him in the balls more times than I have. Captain Series' expression cracked for a moment. Will's not a leader. All he's doing is defending himself. But when Anders gives him an order, Will obeys. At least he used to. Captain picked up his glass, saw it was empty, and put it down. Look, let me explain something about my ship. All pirate ship, really. Everyone on it is wanted for one thing or another. Take Will. Believe it or not, he's wanted by 3 different governments, and that was before I took him in. They all count on me to keep them safe. I keep other pirates off our back because I have a reputation for being merciless to anyone who goes after one of mine. But they also count on me to keep the law and whoever else is after them from catching him. While we are docked to unload the cargo for Arlington, two teams of bounty hunters attacked us. We repelled them because Anders gave orders and they were obeyed. Sir, you have to know I didn't start any of this. He said, I know, but it's still the situation we're dealing with. That's not it, sir. Can I ask, what's the story? You said 3 governments are after him. Why? I don't know the details. Even Will doesn't. You said you rescued him. Captain nodded. He was 12. Filthy, being worked to death by his crewmates is the word I have to use. Torturers is a better term. They were lashing him, forcing him to push a crate. Even Evans couldn't move. I was just going to tell them to stop, but before I could, one of them pulled out a stun staff set so high that when it touched Will, the shock sent him flying at my feet. A lot of them laughed. Did you leave any one of them alive? Stone was grim. No. Then he chuckled. I carried Will back to my ship, and we had to cut that stay short. I kept him on the ship for the next subjective year. Doc looked after him, and even Anders took care of him. He indicated he wanted another drink when the waiter walked by. Must have been a decade objective time where I allowed him to off the ship, and within 10 minutes, someone kidnapped him. Anders and his team brought Will back. We're still banned from that station on threat of being shot on sight, but yeah, I'd do what that with any one of my crew, including you. I'll protect you from any outside threat, but I can't do anything for you internally. The waiter placed the drink, got paid, and stayed there until the captain glared at him. Look, he continued once the waiter left. The honest truth is that if Anders kills you, it's going to be an inconvenience for me. But it's going to start a war among the crew. Can't have that. Hell, just him trying could spark things off. Sir, I don't know what I can do. I told Anders more than once I don't want to take his place on the ship. Everyone knows I'm leaving once we reach Somalia, so I don't even understand why he's worried. Mr. Crimson, this is probably the one thing I can't fix. You need to either get the people who look up to you under control or convince Anders you're not a threat. Anything less and you'll be in danger. He downed his drink and smiled. If you're happy you decided to join my crew. Alex tightened his lips to keep from responding. Yeah, this was turning out to be such a good idea. And this concludes chapter 33 of Crimson. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next one's going to be, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to watch me do these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. If you want to read the book as well as the other ones in the series, they are available at all major e-retailer. And if you want to support me, get access to everything I've written, it's on Patreon. The links are in the notes, and I will wish you a good day.